Welcome to MoTorque, the program where we bring you cars, bikes, adventure, classics, motorsport, and indeed whatever wheels that have torque. Here's a quick look at what we have in store for you this week. We drive the new and improved Volkswagen Polo. We take a look at two unique Land Rovers. And we bring you all the action from the recently conducted Carlton 4x4 Challenge.
The Polo is one of Volkswagen Group's best-selling models in its home European market, in the supermini category. But in our country and in the Asian market, where you'd expect something like this to be quite popular, we don't see very many of them. Why is that? Well, the traditional answer is that the German-built and European-built versions of these cars always end up being a little too expensive when they come to our market. So Volkswagen have realized that this is a problem, and they've decided to take a new approach. Now they take their European models, they build them in Asia, decontent them in some unimportant ways, and bring the price down so that they're competitive with the best sellers in Asian market. So, does this approach work? And does this new Polo stack up to the best of the competition? Let's find out. So in traffic and around and about town then, it's just as good as you'd expect it to be. What about out of town? Now most cars this size aren't very happy when you hit the open road. Whether you're talking about the Swift or any other competitor in this class, they always tend to seem a little bit reluctant to actually really go when you open the taps. You can't really blame them because they usually have quite small engines and they're very lightweight, and they're designed to be economical and efficient. So expecting them to be fun to drive would be asking a lot. Then again, this is a Volkswagen, and VW Group products have always been quite fun to drive if you know how to use them properly. So I had some high hopes for this Polo. Does it live up to those hopes? Yes, it does. 1.6 liters pushing a really pretty lightweight car with a manual gearbox equates to sparkling acceleration. The numbers say 0 to 100 should come up in 11.1 seconds, but really it feels even quicker than that. It's just a very sparky little car. You put your foot down and it immediately bolts. In fact, it has the same amount of power as the original Golf GTI, and not a lot more weight. So that kind of explains it. Straight through the gears, this engine provides enough power all across the rev band. So whether you want to do a quick and sudden overtake, or you're moving at pretty high speed on the freeway and want to pick up some more speed, this 1.6 in this body has more than enough pace. It seems to be channeling the spirit of the original Golf GTI. A fairly big engine in a light body. That's a formula that can't go wrong. And the suspension is tuned just right. Body roll is really well contained. Turn-in is sharp. And the car just goes exactly where you want it. No slop, no wallow, nothing like that. A completely different experience to driving a small Japanese or Indian car in this price class. Without a doubt, this Polo is the best handling small car that I've driven recently. In the interior of the new Polo, if you get in expecting the same sort of experience and interior ambience that you get from a German Volkswagen, like say the Passat or the Jetta or something, you might be a little disappointed because this doesn't play in that price point. Then again, when you consider its class and its price category, it's really a very nice place to be in here. Everything that you say touch and interact with on a regular basis is finished really nicely. Say, take the doors. They close with a very nice thunk, much more solid than you'd get in something like a Swift. Even the dash is the same general design that you get in the European Polo. Same square and very logical Germanic shape, same layout of switches and controls. Everything is identical to the European Polo. The only difference is the trim and the level of materials that are used. The plastics are a lot harder than they are in the European version, and everything feels just a little less high quality. But on the good side, everything is assembled really well. If you were expecting very cheap quality in here, it's not to be found. Everything fits together really nicely, there are no rattles, and it's all very solid. The driving position too has that Germanic feel to it. The seat adjusts for height even, which is a real rarity in this class, and there is a wide range of adjustment. The steering wheel, it adjusts not only for tilt, but it also telescopes. Something again that you don't find normally in cars at this price point. And when you're settled in, the view ahead is just very Volkswagen. The wheel feels good in your hands and it all promises a pretty sporty and fun drive. If you're shopping in the supermini and subcompact class and you want a good looking car, usually you don't have a lot of choices. Mostly because of necessity, all the cars in this category tend to be fairly bland looking. This Polo, on the other hand, is a very good looking little car. Everything from the headlights all the way through to the shape of the roof and down to the tail lights and the flanks are really well thought out and extremely well executed. There's a significant family resemblance to bigger Volkswagens like the Passat and the Jetta, and this is a good thing because all of the modern VWs are very good looking cars. Despite the fact that this is the Asian market version, it looks exactly the same as what you'd get in Europe, and that is a very good thing. It's safe to say, in fact, that among all the cars in its segment, the Polo definitely wins the visual appeal stakes. So, time for final words. What do we think about the Polo? Well, let's see. It's comfortable, well equipped, quiet, fairly spacious for its size, and good fun to drive. So it has a lot of good qualities, but undoubtedly the best thing about this new Polo is the price. 3.95 million rupees for the spec tested makes it cheaper than the competition such as the Suzuki Swift. So if you're looking for a car in this price category, this Polo is probably the top choice. Hello. Now, as we all know, the Land Rover Defender is the most capable 4x4 vehicle that you can buy off the shelf. Whether you want to climb mountains or ford streams or go across rivers, well, most people say that you should pick a Land Rover. Maybe you want a bit more off-road ability and more traction. Or maybe you want to carry even more people than the standard 9 passengers that you can carry in the 110-inch wheelbase. Well, what we have for you here today are two different vehicles that can fulfill those requirements. On my left, we have the Defender that has 6 wheels, 6-wheel drive, and is practically unstoppable off-road. And here on my right, we have a completely built 6-door Defender that can carry more passengers than standard. We're going to feature both of these for your entertainment. The 6-door Defender is not something you'd find in Land Rover catalogues, as it is entirely a local creation by Land Rover specialists LR Motors. Starting out as a high-capacity 130-inch chassis, it's been made longer and stronger and has a custom-built body using standard Defender parts. The work is done to such a high standard that you'll have trouble believing it was not made by Land Rover themselves. The body and chassis show no signs of the lengthening, and it all looks very neat. It's the same story inside, where it's just like a modern Defender, except for that extra row of seats, which takes the total seating capacity up to 12. And it looks just like a factory product. Even the roof lining is specially made for this vehicle. I thought that the driving experience would be closer to a CTB bus than a Land Rover, but it's no different to a normal Defender really. Powered by the old faithful 300 TDI, driving through a standard manual gearbox, even the 4-wheel drive system works like normal thanks to some clever engineering. So when you sit behind the wheel, it doesn't feel strange at all, just as long as you keep the extra length in mind. The 6-door then is basically a rolling showcase, something that shows you just what LR Motors is capable of achieving, and is a truly impressive display of local engineering talent. And it also happens to be an excellent ride if you and 11 of your friends want to really make an entrance. The 6-wheeler, on the other hand, is a completely different beast. Originally built for the Navy as a fire truck, it was purchased by LR Motors some time back, and they decided to turn it into the ultimate off-road rig. Originally, the third axle was not driven, but LR Motors have custom built a differential and drive shaft to turn it into a proper 6-wheel drive, hooked up to a tweaked 300 TDI motor that puts out a massive wall of torque from just above idle, all of which is designed to make this beast practically unstoppable off-road. We were only able to witness a tiny fraction of its capabilities on test, but LR Motors still managed to give us a demonstration of the 6-wheeler's mud-plugging skills. As you can see, it's just epic to watch, sailing through like you'd imagine a tank would, completely unfazed by mud holes, plant life, or even standing water. Now obviously after watching that demonstration, I had to have a go as well. And now we're going off-roading. I had no idea that following around in mud could be this much fun. The trick is apparently to keep the power up and the wheels turning. And it is hilarious. The 6x6 really does give you a driving experience like no other, and the changes that have been made by LR Motors make it even better and, just like they wanted to, almost completely unstoppable off-road. Now if you're curious to know more about LR Motors, we got hold of the man behind the operation, off-road racer and Land Rover specialist Indika Sanjaya. Indika, what about the Land Rover specialization එකට වා මේ ඒ ෆීල්ඩ් එකට ආවේ කොහොමද? ඒ කියන්නේ පටන් ගත්තේ කොහොමද?
මේක අපේ තාත්තා වයිල්ඩ් ලයිෆ් එකේ වැඩ කරා. යාළුවා හුඟක් කල් වැඩ කරා. ඉතින් එහෙ හුඟක් ලෑන්ඩ් රෝවර් එකක් තාත්තට දීපා පාන්න. ඒකත් එක්ක තමයි අතන මේකට හුඟක් සීරීස් එකක්. සීරීස් එක. හරි. ඒකත් එක්ක තමයි මේක අතන මේකට ආසයි. ඒක ඒකෙන් ගලවලා පුරුදු වෙලා තමයි අතනම අද ලෑන්ඩ් රෝවර් හදන්නම. ඒ කොයි කාලේ වගේද? ඒක දැන් අවුරුදු මගේ 15ක් වගේ වයස කාලේ ඉඳලම ඒක
කියන්නේ අවුරුදු
දැන් මට 39ක් වෙනවා.
කියන්නේ අවුරුදු 25කටත් වැඩි. දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ වර්ක්ෂොප් එකේ LR Motors එකේ Land Rover ඕන කෙනෙක්ට මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ කියන්නේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම
ඕනම Land Rover එකකට අපිට රිපෙයාර් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
ඒ කියන්නේ Series 1 එකේ ඉඳලා
Series 1 එකේ ඉඳලා දැන් තියෙන අලුත් Discovery Pro Range Rover වුණත් අපිට මෙහෙ රිපෙයාර් කරන්නත් පුළුවන් ඕන සර්විස් එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
දැන් එතකොට අලුත් මොඩල්ස් වල ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික
ඒවට ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා අපි කියනවා.
එයා සස්පෙන්ෂන් එක ඔක්කොම
කොටම ගෙනලා තියෙනවා.
Range Rover එකක් වුණත්
පුළුවන්.
ඒක ඇත්තටම සෑහෙන වටින සර්විස් එකක් Land Rover ඕනසට. මොකද ලංකාවේ මේ මතයක් තියෙනවානේ Land Rover.
ඇත්තටම දැන් Land Rover එක අලුතෙන් එන ඒවට ඔක්කොම ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික පද්ධතියක් තියෙන. ඉතින් ඒවට අලුත් තාක්ෂණයක් එක්ක අපි ඉදිරියට යනවා හැමදේම.
සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඉතින් දැන් මෙහා ලංකාවේ මතයක් තියෙනවානේ Land Rover එකක් ජපනීස් ෆෝර් වීල් ඩ්‍රයිව් එකක් තරම් මේ කියන්නේ රිලයබිලිටි එකෙන් අඩුයි කියන එක ඒක වාහිතන්නේ
නෑ. ඒක මම ඔප්පු කරලා පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා අපේ දුර වාහන වලනේ අපි රේසින් කරන ඒවා නෙමෙයි අපි හුඟක් ඒක කරලා තියෙනවා. මොකද මේ වාහනේ හුඟක් අය මේන්ටේන් කරන්න නොදැනුවත්කමෙන් තමයි රිපෙයාර් වැඩි කරගන්නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ හරියට මේන්ටෙනන්ස් එක කරොත්
හරියට මේන්ටේන් කරලා කරනකොට එකපාර හරියට කරොත් ජෙන්වින් පාර්ට්ස් දාලා කරොත් කවදාවත් එකක් නෑ.
Well, there you have it.
The 7th Carlton 4x4 challenge was once again held successfully at the Tissamaharama track. Conducted by the Nissan Patrol Club and organised by Tarunyata Hetak, the event comprised of 3 classes: Standard, Safari and Extreme. The Extreme event comprised of some truly radical machines, built for the sole purpose of tackling the most inhospitable terrain. With big power, lightweight bodies and truly massive tires that can climb like mountain goats. Of course, they needed that ability because we're talking about parts that would make most showroom models fall apart after just 5 minutes. It proved to be a close competition for all involved, despite the fact that not everyone would make it to the finish line because of the toughness of the course. Such was the nature of the 5 meticulously designed stages, which were set out to provide ample viewing locations for the many spectators that flocked to this event. These 5 stages tested both man and machine to the absolute limit, as drivers and co-drivers had to overcome many obstacles in the shortest amount of time, while trying not to accumulate any of the dreaded debit points. Although the competition was, as we said, very close, Indika Sanjaya, who was featured earlier in the program, headed the field throughout. He drove a well-judged race through all the stages and eventually enjoyed a well-earned victory.
The Safari class, as its name suggests, was notable because it featured jeeps driven by safari operators from our national parks. This was an interesting event because it gave these hard-working men a chance to show off their off-roading skills. And finally, the standard category featured SUVs that had minimal modifications and would undoubtedly be driven home after the event. However, by no means was this event not a challenging one, and drivers had to bring their best skills to the table if they wanted to even see the finish line. After a tough race, Pranith Manamperi and co-driver Charit Liyanage managed to hold off their competition and claim victory. This week, we're dealing with a problem that is really irritating to most car owners. That problem is the number of squeaks and rattles and other noises that you get as your car gets older. Now, the cause of these problems is that these areas, these hard to reach areas like your hinges and your locks, tend to get caked with dirt and dust and all kinds of grime as you use your car in dusty conditions, or basically anywhere on the road in Sri Lanka. When that happens, it tends to make noise. Now Worth, as usual, have come up with a solution. We have again Suranga with us here, and he'll explain to us this product that they use to reduce those noises. Suranga?
Yes. To avoid those kind of problems, we have a product called HHS 2000. When you spray, it comes as a liquid. And when it works, it becomes grease. Now you can see it is fully of dirt and the grease. So before you apply the HHS 2000, you have to clean the surface, clean the area. Now you can apply HHS 2000. Now you can see there is no any noise. So you can use this for door hinges, key barrels, and bonnet locks.
All those places.
All those places.
And it'll reduce the noise and reduce friction, is it? And clean it out.
And it prevents for rusting.
Because it stays on, it prevents rust. There you go. Once again, if you need to get this value-added service done, you can head on down to Worth service centers such as
Auto Mirage, Labs, service stations, and care points, Dr. Auto, and top workshops and service stations.
Anywhere that Worth products are available.
And also your car agents.
Your agents as well.
Agents as well.
There you go. Our Worth top tip for this week.